Alright, moving on.
Shards are getting harder to find.
So next time...
It's almost like there's less of them out there.
Yeah, less places to look after. So before moving on, let's check the trigger hill to test, you know, our smokestack of our sniper rifle.
Caelondia's army only took the best, and the best of them trained on Trigger Hill. The Triggers believed they were nothing without their rifles.
I mean, I guess.
Like they're literally called triggers.
Alright, so...
triggers.
Yeah, basically. The basic gist of it is that, you know, aim at the pink cushions and trying to pop as many targets in the little amount of time as possible. You know, pretty easy stuff.
In this case, you gotta do as the triggers did. Oh yeah.
Again, as per usual, this kind of stuff is better to be attempted when the weapon is fully upgraded in a certain way. The trick is
better
that,
reload time and speed.
The trick is that if you notice that the lower tier prizes are components to upgrade other weapons. So the trick is that give it a try. Arrive third, don't be ashamed of that, for example, but grab the component, or in this case me arriving second, which will be useful for you to upgrade other weapons, so that you'll be able to have all of them fully upgraded, you know, in a cohesive manner, and then you'll be able to fully finish it, because the final tier of the prizes that you get, you know, for first place is a special skill dedicated to the weapon of the trial.
The Triggers.
Oh, nice.
My brothers. Bravest men I ever knew.
Well, apparently our narrator was amongst, you know, the triggers. Good to know. I guess he got a bullet to the knee. I don't know. I don't think that kind of works, especially because I know that at this point it's a very well-known fact because of the popularity of Skyrim, but the whole getting an arrow to the knee was intended as a metaphor for getting married and, you know, having a stationary life. But, you know...
But you want to bet that that original meaning has probably been lost to time for most people who hear that saying?
It's kind of the opposite. A lot of people took it literally when they first hear it, but afterward they realized, oh, that's what they meant.
So it's at least one of those things that people haven't lost the original meaning to.
No, especially because you basically have to hear it from city guards anyway. So, you know, it kind of makes sense that they will be skilled fighters, you know, but they still operate just in the, you know, in the confinements of the city.
I knew the origin of that, but I always did wonder why arrow to the knee was equivalated to marriage, in the sense that I don't quite get the metaphor.
Stop adventuring by, you know, being impeded to move for a specific reason. It's colorful
hence, you know,
and a bit weird, and trust me, not even remotely the strangest thing that happened in the world of the Elder Scrolls.
So in a way,
yeah. Now, ball and chain, that I do get, but I guess arrow to the knee kind of does fit in that regard.
Anyway, we're in a terrible place where not only the vegetation loves to poison the shit out of a poor kid, but it's particularly hot in here.
As for us,
however,
no doubt,
this is where we can find a weapon that can help us with the situation. Fucking, you know, forge, what's the English name, I forgot. You know those instruments that blow hair that serves exactly to keep a flame lit for a forge? Yeah, it's kind of like that, except it's a flamethrower in this case.
Of course.
What? The people of Caelondia really indeed had too much free time on their hands.
I never heard of that kind of addiction before, an addiction to fire.
Pyromany lives, usually that's what, you know, is for.
Not like this.
You'll be surprised, you know. It's kind of like with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Abridged. I got it! Arson!
Beautiful.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
And again, as mentioned a couple of times, the golden rule for role-playing, you know, in case of doubt cast Fireball.
Yes.
That was one of my 3 commandments during the SimCity 3000 playthrough.
At the very
Really?
least, you did not canonize. Well, remember, Joe, Blizzard kind of decided to play God and cause a sort of natural and unnatural disasters to his poor cities.
Yeah,
I remember that. I just forgot that he had a supposed rule book to it, as opposed to just coming up with any reason to kill people.
It was always there. It only just came to my mind just now. What do you mean I just mentioned it? It's my third commandment. Those who disobey shall be punished by fire.
You know...
The other two laws being don't disobey and don't. Just don't.
Yeah, the don't. Perfect.
Anyway, Tio, the term you're looking for is a vintage fire blower for that thing.
Alright, yeah, that makes sense. Mostly because my country uses completely different terms, which might or might not, derived from the Latin, but I don't have enough experience to confirm or deny that right now.
It could also be referred to as an air blower, since, technically air and fire went hand in hand for that stuff and whatnot. Maybe even a forge fan, since, some forgers use that.
Pecker nest, collectible, sure, whatever. Not sure.
Okay.
A patchwork sticks with a lone egg nestled inside. Peckers were hunted aggressively before the calamity, but their numbers never seem to dwindle. Even now, they appear to be thriving. Thank you, narrator.
Good for them.
Good for them.
So basically, what, they're the equivalent to seagulls who just refuse to die?
Yeah, like this. They are hybrid between a seagull and a woodpecker, so,
Why would you make that? What is wrong with you?
I mean, if the people in the Avatar, universe, can have all sorts of, mishmash of animals, I guess, might as well have also stuff like this.
But the two most annoying birds in existence?
I mean, I heard the worst birds. I can tell you, Shiri, that around specifically where I live, but not just the city and everything, properly the geographical area of the city where I'm in, which is one of the outskirts, does have a lot of different variety of birds around, and I can tell you that the woodpeckers, because yes, I even got a couple of those, they've been surprisingly quiet. No, it's the cuckoos that constantly annoy me.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow, a quiet woodpecker, how even?
We get seagulls screaming at 6 a.m.
Oh, the place where my mother was born has that specific problem, but, as you can be surmised, the locals just, get used to it. It's terrible for tourists, of course, but, they can also get used to it.
It's white noise.
I knew that seagulls could screech, but I never imagined that they'd be loud enough to basically be the alarm clocks.
No, Joe, but here's the thing. I can tell you from experience because I also got to witness the horror, Clearly, people like Lovecraft, when they were not busy to being racist, were actually, were onto something, described the eldritch horror of a coastal town. Because those fucking things, from experience, I can tell you, at 6 a.m., they sound like cats. I don't know why they produce that kind of sound, but they sound like cats, and it's fucking disturbing.
And they choose specifically at, such an early bewitching hour,
yes,
too. It's not during the day when most people are around.
They know what they're doing. They're feather dusters with opinions.
Yes, Joe, but they wake up and decide to sing their song over people. I don't know why, just for funsies, I don't know, but,
I guess
they're also, for some reason, a lot bigger in the UK than they are in the US.
I was about to say, we do consider them basically rats with wings over here because of how much they scavenge and steal, but it seems like the seagulls over in you guys' neck of the woods are way worse.
Well, around that part, it's more, to be expected because it's relatively close to Venice, so a lot of tourists get to feed them, even if, the authorities told them don't do that because they get big and aggressive.
So you're saying that basically because people feed them more in the UK, they get bigger, stronger, and thus more bullish.
Oh, people don't willingly feed them, they steal your lunch.
Well, that too. If you don't get to feed them, they will find a way or another,
People will feed the pigeons, which is a problem, but the seagulls they just take.
Toughness a bag. But no, Jova, you know, kind of like how it's also about them getting quaint, you know, and ballsy, like Shiri just said, in getting stealing food if they don't get it. You know how the classic trope that is still being available of, you know, parks in the US that tells don't feed a specific animal, particularly bears. It's for a good reason. It has the same kind of meaning, you know.
It's weird,
the animals
though.
get too a bit acquainted. Sorry, narrator.
It's weird though. I wonder why the UK seagulls though seem to have gotten more acquainted than the US ones. Then
I mean, Jova, it's a giant island, lots of fish.
fair point.
I mean, I personally like learning about what lives in Australia because it's funny.
Oh Lord, Australia, Jesus!
Anyway.
Like, you know,
And New Zealand.
Since we got a pecker nest, that means that our little refuge in the Bastion got a new animal companion. Not sure why we want to have all these around, but you know, the narrator seems to be fine with it.
If only they could see us.
isn't life beautiful?
Yeah, okay, Sir David Attenborough, I get it.
Can't be too careful these days.
Wouldn't the irony be that imagine a fusion between a woodpecker and a seagull is actually a saint?
Not really, I can tell you that. Well, they're not the most aggressive, you know, wildlife in this game. They definitely are a bit annoying on the side.
Marshals kept the city's peace.
I forgot, Lives. How old is Sir Attenborough by this point?
I've asked
He's 99.
God damn.
Isn't he still giving like narrations every now and
Yeah.
then too?
Very committed to his job, which, you know, I can appreciate.
Yeah, if he holds on, he'll be 100 in a couple of months.
Watch somebody do a documentary about him and then have him
I
narrate
mean,
his own documentary.
Yeah, kind of like Morgan Freeman. But I wouldn't mind a biopic eventually, just to know. Because even when I was a kid, my grandparents did a couple of some of these relatively early documentaries. So I got to know him even before the internet.
Real tight.
Anyway, that powering up a bit more the pike, but I don't have any more for the musket. So, alas. If I recall correctly, now we're about to learn Zia's backstory. How Zia has decided to actually experiment with some cooking. Let's see how that effect has on the kid.
You
Oh,
wolfs down too much too fast, and it all goes to his head.
what was in that stew, Zia?
Next stop, who knows where? Oh God, her cooking sent him on a trip.
Kid, but he ain't the only one wrapped.
So, let's see what happened to Zia. Now she got involved in the situation. Because, you
So
know,
let me get this
people
straight.
don't
Her
survive the
cooking was-
calamity just out of nowhere.
So let me get this straight. Her cooking was so bad that it sends us on a drug trip to see her backstory.
Basically, powerful stuff, man.
What's he thinking?
So was she trying to kill us, or is this just how she tells us about herself by nearly killing us?
Well,
I want to...
we did Final Fantasy VIII a while ago, a game where flashbacks are told by all the characters fainting.
Yeah, and Vince Paul remembering that he was an idiot. Good times. Which was apparently his father. Anyway, I want you to remember the fact that the narrator is specifically wording this in telling about Zia's backstory. It will be important for something later. All the while you have to fight the wildlife. Go on.
I'll give Final Fantasy VIII credit. I was at least relieved that they didn't do the stupid revelation that, oh, the guy he's been playing as is dead now. Like, no, to his credit, dude actually survived and profited, became the ruler of a flipping city and everything.
He did a lot of other really stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even dislike and don't get me wrong, I do get that it has problems. There are definitely problems, and oh lord, some of the gameplay is very weird, but I think I have enough of a soft spot for it, and I think it does enough things fine enough that I could recommend it to somebody who really wants to get into the
incredibly
series.
bored by the world building that it has. It has some interesting elements to it, but definitely one of the most bland, fictional world in the entire franchise to me.
I do feel like a lot, and I do mean a lot of the most creative design did go into like the final dungeon, Ultimicia's castle.
I mean, to be fair, that's just Dracula's castle from Castlevania when you get down to it. They would just wanted to.
You know,
when did Symphony of the Night got released? I forgot.
wasn't that 1998 or
Around
99?
the same time, so I cannot really tell that it was a case of wanting to homage it because they probably did not know much about it.
Okay, it came out in 1997, actually.
1 year before. Well, it could be then in some way, considering it was still the final dungeon. To be more point, as mentioned, yeah, Zia's is Ahura and arrived in Caelondia because of her family. However, as you can imagine, despite quote-unquote the war being over, there was still a lot of, the type of attitude, the whole, oh, we're technically not racist, but we still look down on you.
Learn more through music.
God, imagine if war was what caused the apocalypse. I guess to be fair, it wasn't like Symphony of the Night created the idea of evil villain castles to brave. We technically
True, but
been
the whole
that
structure feels eerily familiar. The idea that your abilities get stripped right at the beginning, and you need to defeat the bosses to acquire them back one by one, including having to do some unbeknownst, some not tried before tricks that the game did not have. It feels oddly similar to what Symphony of the Night does. The only thing that doesn't do is, of course, the inverted castle, but probably because, they did not really needed it.
I guess, admittedly, there is also stuff like the literal bat wings on Ultimecia's castle and how it's presented and everything. Makes me wonder, does Ultimecia ever just get lonely or creeped out with how that place
Jova,
seems to be in disrepair?
That's the entire part of her backstory. She wants to use time compression because she's the only, being that will remain at the end of time, and she feels incredibly lonely, constantly haunted by the seeds.
Which does lead me to wonder, was that her castle originally or someone else's? Because the place seems to be in disarray. Like, come on, woman, you'd think you'd probably try and keep your place, better well kept, especially if you don't want to accidentally.
It probably doesn't matter. It's more of a case where it just happened because remember, the whole time compression, this core thing imply that the characters are right literally at the end of time. Not helped by the fact that at the end of the day, there's still a lot of mystery built around Ultimecia that we don't know the intricacies of it, specifically because it's built to be, mysterious. And in a case that if an explanation is given, it will be, disappointing. If you know what I mean. So it's just left up, not helped by, again, as you yourself noted, how the people responsible for the English translation decided to either mangle terms or even decide to give the characters weird accents like Ultimecia, spelling all C's with K's for no adequate reason. It wasn't particularly a trait that she had in the Japanese script, we just decided to put it, and wisely, the people who translated her subsequent appearance, like in the video games, wisely decided to omit that and just let her talk normally.
And go to the Tazal Terminals.
I will say this, I do get that they wanted to have mystery behind Ultimecia, though I do feel like the whole Renoa being Ultimecia Fury would have actually been cool to follow through on. The idea that, she is a Renoa from a bad ending and whatnot. Oh shoot, another sand crocodile.
Little. We actually already fought a big one.
The queen, yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, if you followed the narration, Zia actually wanted to actually find a way out to live for herself, but things did not turn out the way she wanted.
Is it messed up that we're raising the child of the sand crocodile queen that we killed?
Don't think about it. And unfortunately, the person that acted very cordially to her and her family sold them out. How predictable.
I'm surprised she was able to even trust us.
Well, it's more of a case where we're at the end of the world, you don't really have much of a choice. Unless, you're handled by Neil Druckmann, like I said.
Lord God Almighty.
Before they parted ways for the last time, her father whispered a desperate plea. Hurry home to the den and lock yourself in.
So yeah, last request of her father before, you know, he was arrested was for her to get to safety. And this is important for, I think, the last of hers what we're about to get. Oh god, it's the return of, you know, crack-addicted Victory Bell. Oh! Looks, again, it looks
dear.
like a fucking Clonoa boss. There you go.
Hey, you know, we were talking about inspirations. I wonder if these guys may have really just been intrigued with that stuff.
I mean, Clonoa is more about similar to Kirby, you know, about the dreams and everything.
And deep down underground inside that den, she found a journal written in her father's hand.
Oh, and of course, the last boss, if I recall correctly, is Kid's doppelganger. So.
Of course. This trip has been truly eye-opening.
You
know, how funny would it have been?
Motherfucker. And,
how funny...
And there you go, and that's when the calamity happened. So let's just say that, ironic enough, she's in a better situation where she was a day before.
You know, how funny would it be if after the kid comes out of his trip, he goes, Zia, I understand. And she's like, no, you don't. What do you mean? I saw your backstory. You were high as a kite. That is absolutely not my backstory. You were just on a drug trip.
Well,
we'll
see if the kid recovers in the next part. So see you for that.
Yeah.